The audience has been wondering if there would be any more surprises in store for them with the release of Knock at the Cabin, which is based on the Paul G. Tremblay novel The Cabin at the End of the World. In both the book and the movie, a family on vacation at a cabin is attacked by a group of strangers who claim they have all had end-of-the-world visions. However, a sweet, soft-spoken giant of a man named Leonard, Dave Bautista, a schoolteacher, emerges from the woods one afternoon and approaches Wen to inspect her collection of grasshoppers. After making an effort to win Wen's trust, Leonard's friends show up. They all approach the cabin while brandishing weapons. Wen tries to alert her fathers to the threat, but after knocking and being refused admittance by the couple, the group is forced into the cabin when the family learns that all outside contact has been severed. The group ties the parents to chairs, explaining that they are the victims of a particular, shared vision of the end of humanity, and that this vision has brought them to the cabin where they are to repeatedly demand that Eric, Andrew, and Wen make a sacrifice of one of their own in order for the apocalypse to occur. Even after the group ritualistically kills Redmond, Andrew and Eric find Leonard's assertions that a required sacrifice has anything to do with an impending apocalypse dubious at best. A cynical lawyer named Andrew recognizes Redmond after his death as O'Bannon, a bigot who assaulted him in a bar years prior before being imprisoned for the crime. He also notices Leonard's habit of checking his watch frequently and how he always turns on the television at the same moment when certain pre-recorded newscasts purport to show the end-of-the-world consequences of the family's refusal to make a sacrifice. Even Eric, who was more suggestible due to a concussion he sustained during the group's invasion, finds it highly suspicious that they met on an online message board. Prejudice, regardless of motive, is the only reasonable explanation for why these individuals attacked and are holding the family hostage. Flashbacks show that Andrew and Eric have dealt with such closed minds before, from Andrew's parents disapproving of their relationship to having to tell the truth to the authorities in order to adopt Wen. With Leonard and the group's potential insanity, as well as the specter of such hatred, Shyamalan hopes to create enough room for doubt. One is reminded of historical cults like Heaven's Gate and real-life recent incidents like Kanan adherents storming the Capitol. The question of whether humanity deserves to survive at all is a bigger one, as Andrew expresses at one point. Knock at the Cabin is a part of a long line of speculative fiction works that use end-of-the-world scenarios as its setting. The similarities between Knock and the works of Rod Serling on various episodes of The Twilight Zone, the Richard Kelly movie The Box, which was itself adapted from Zone contributor Richard Matheson, the faith versus reason arguments that appeared in the Damon Lindelof-produced shows Lost and The Leftovers, and even the faith-based justification for optimism in a pessimistic world of The Exorcist, are particularly strong. Given his passion for and skill with genre, Shyamalan welcomes these comparisons. When stripped down to its essentials, Knock at the Cabin is a home invasion thriller with end-of-the-world and catastrophe movie overtones. Eric even remarks, "It wasn't a house invasion near the conclusion," the statement being a fun fourth-wall-breaking wink. The group's spirituality leans a little toward the occult, and Leonard and the group's faith are ambiguous because they never assert that they are receiving visions from any particular god. As a result, the movie even flirts with folk horror. The group continues to kill people one by one, while Andrew, Eric, and Wen struggle to escape. They make the argument that the increasing number of tragedies taking place in the world, earthquakes, tidal waves, a new pandemic, and passenger planes mysteriously falling from the sky, are due to a failure to make a sacrifice. After Leonard commits suicide, Eric realizes that these events are not a deception, an illusion, or a manipulation when he notices the sky growing gloomier and becomes fixated on Leonard's warning that the family has only a short time to make a decision before the end of the world becomes inevitable. Eric explains to Andrew that he witnessed a mysterious figure in the mirror behind Redmond during the murder and how this has caused him to suspect more powerful forces are at play. Andrew accepts Eric's belief even though he does not share it, and the two approach one another while Andrew waves the gun he had purchased to defend his family and himself from animosity. Eric explains why he thinks the four people who came to the cabin were indeed the four horsemen of the end times. However, rather than signifying humanity's doom, they symbolized its virtues: repentance, nurturing, healing, and direction. Eric is of the opinion that the family was intended to witness their deaths and experience their loss in order to awaken their altruism. Eric insists on being sacrificed while reassuring his husband that he is at peace and sharing a dream he recently had of an older, contented Wen having dinner with Andrew. Wen hears a gunshot while hiding out in a nearby treehouse from the lightning storm, which is growing more intense. Eric passed away. Andrew drives Wen to Leonard's truck after the group earlier damaged their own vehicle, leaving Wen emotionally broken but still alive. There, Andrew finds evidence that the foursome were indeed what they claimed to be: regular, ordinary folks. Andrew and Wen come across a diner as they are traveling down the road where people are sheltering from the storms. The pandemic is being controlled, passenger planes are no longer crashing to the ground, and a number of survivors are being rescued following the earthquakes and tidal waves, according to several live news broadcasts inside. When they get back to the car, Andrew and Wen notice in silence that Eric's favorite song, Boogie Shoes by KC and the Sunshine Band, is playing on the radio. In the movie, Andrew accidentally kills Sabrina when he shoots her in self-defense. This makes the group more sympathetic toward victims as opposed to just victimizers, which increases Andrew's moral guilt. In addition, Eric's demise might have been an accident, casting doubt on the family's alleged sacrifice. The objective of the movie isn't whether the group was correct or incorrect, whether or not everything that happened was just one huge test, or whether some invisible force is watching and documenting human behavior in the same manner that Wen does with her grasshoppers. It's the fact that tragedies occur unexpectedly, unfairly, and unlike Leonard's knock unannounced that we must come to our own conclusions. In any case, it is those of us who are kindest and warmest, who give of our time and energy willingly, who are unfairly burdened and persecuted, who show the road to humanity's survival, who take the brunt of our misdeeds while providing us hope for the future. The film Knock at the Cabin approaches the subject matter with a bittersweet optimism, in contrast to the pessimism of the book. According to Shyamalan's press kit, a contemporary version of the Bible story, the movie captures my current sentiment that everything in the world doesn't look good or feel good, but I do believe that we are all working together in the right direction and deserve the chance to move forward. Perhaps everything happens for a reason, and perhaps we will all be fairly judged in the end. It might be a sign of divinity, or it might just be a story to console us in difficult times.